Okay, today I'm going to install a 30 amp plug on the house so I can plug in my fifth wheel. The box I'm going to use, I've got it's an Eaton brand. I got it from Lowe's. I'll try to put the link in the description. But again, just a 30 amp plug. Reason I bought this instead of the 27 different ones you see on Amazon is they have a real knockout. If you look at any of the reviews on Amazon, people had to drill them out. That was such an easy knockout to knock out. I already knocked it out and didn't get it on video. And then to connect it to my panel, I've got it's called a whip. So just a really super easy way to wire up this outlet. All right, here's my main breaker panel right by my meter, and over there is where my RV sits. Now I thought a lot about running a wire up into the attic and then down out over the garage down there, but that's a whole lot of attic crawling and expensive wire for as far as you've got to go. But I found this RV extension cable on Facebook Market. It's 50 feet and it was only 50 bucks. That's usually $150 worth of cable right there. So that means I'm going to just put my outlet somewhere over here. I'm going to kind of figure out where that lead was I just showed you is going to reach, and then I can just run this cable all the way down to where my RV sits. Okay, panel cover off, and here is going to be the really fun part for me. This is what I would call my main breakers, but there is no main breaker. This is has just the disconnects for, again, the main panel inside, so that shuts off everything in the house, lights and outlets, and then all the other breakers for the big draw items in the house, like the air conditioner and range and those kinds of things. So what that means is it's going to make it really fun for me, because this panel, there is no way to shut off power completely to this panel. So I've got to work on it live. That is probably not something for the unwashed masses. I'll show you what I do. I'm in these panels all day, every day, so it's definitely doable, but you can kill yourself, so don't be dumb. Definitely turn off the main breaker if you have one. If you don't have one, you really got to pay attention to what you're doing throughout this process to wire it live. Okay, next thing you want to think about when you're doing this install is your breaker. Well, I guess we can see that in the video. So these are Siemens breakers. This is the Siemens panel. You need to match up the breaker to whatever your panel has, whatever brand of panel you're using, because the attachments are all very similar but just a little bit different. So I got a Siemens breaker. It's a should we see this in the shade? It's a 30 amp, so matches the outlet that we're getting ready to install, matches the RV. So definitely buying breakers, check your panel first and make sure you get the right breaker. And these things just push, they kind of hook. They got a hook back there, hook on this side, and then they snap onto that copper bar back there. So, and if you look at the copper bar down this side where these breakers are, there's a copper bar down this side. That is what is live. That is always live in my panel, because up here I just got two lugs coming in and there's no main breaker. So I can't shut off the power to this center copper. Okay, here's this electrical whip out of the package. You can see a little bit better. So it's got a kind of a flexible vinyl tubing, and it's rated for outdoors, watertight, weather-tight, sun resistant, all those good things. So it's the proper material to the outside. Like I said, used mostly to connect air conditioners up. So it's outside. It has a black, red, and green wire. Normally when you're looking at 120 volt, you're going to be dealing with black, white, and green, or black, white, and bare. But green is always going to be your ground. If you've got a green color wire, it's always going to be your ground. Normally in 120 volt, black would be your hot, and white would be your neutral. But since we've got black and red, my 12-volt mine says red is hot and black would be either the ground or return, which was in a 120 volt would be neutral. So that's the way I'm going to do it. All right, wires are stripped. I got both ends done, so they're semi close to ready to hook things up. So let's go look at doing some of that. Okay, I made a command decision on where I want to put my breaker, and here's a little bit about why I did it. So I could go up here, there's a empty slot there, or I could go into either one of these two slots right here. All right, this side of the panel where the single empty slot is, got a furnace, air conditioner, oven. All right, this side of the panel, I've got a sub panel, which again is my panel inside the house with all the lights and outlets and things on it, and a cooktop. All right, so RV, big thing is going to be doing is probably running air conditioning when I want to get it set up or cleaned up or work on it. So pulling a lot of amps to do that. This side of the panel, furnace is rarely running in the south where I live. Air conditioner is always running. Oven's rarely running. Cooktop really running. So you just got a little bit of time, 30 minutes, an hour here or there. Of course, sub panel is always on, but it is not always drawing very much energy. So the biggest draw out of both of these sides is going to be my air conditioner running all the time. So it's always good to try to balance loads. So I'm gonna put my RV on this side. So air conditioner's running, RV, air conditioner's running. I'm drawing from two different legs of my panel. So that's my thoughts on the subject. If you think something different or should have done it different, just put it in the comments down below. Okay, my breaker's gonna go on this side. So that's where I'm gonna run the wire up through. There's a knockout right down here. It's kind of out of the way of what's already there. So let's see if we can knock that out. Can we see that? It's up. Just bend it out of the way. So knockout, knocked out. All right, my wires that I stripped earlier, I also went ahead and put a little bit of tape on them so I can poke them up into this panel. Again, this panel's hot all the time, so I can don't have to worry about them touching anything until I'm ready to connect them. But I'm going to put this into the panel so I can kind of get a feel for where I'm going to put the outlet. So screw this piece off and up into the panel and screw this down. All right, not in there tight just yet, but at least it's held in place. All right, here is a cable coming out of the bottom of the box, and I've got this window right here. So what I think I'm going to do is run this just under the windowsill, and then it reaches to the far side of this window pretty easily, and then I can mount this box on the wall somewhere about here. Right, before I mount this box to the wall, let's talk a little bit about wiring this box, because I'm going to have to pull it apart. So I took this screw out already, and pull this cover off, and then if we look inside, I guess we can see this. Got the ground, it's marked ground. This wire is going to the to a lug on the back side of this box, so that bonds the it's going to bond the box to the ground of the panel. So that wiring's already done for us. And then we've got our this roundish plug. Then we've got these two other plugs for our hot and neutral. So little trick you can look at for, and this applies to any outlet, even the small outlets in your house. If we can see in here, okay, we've got this side is kind of copper color. I hope you can see that. I can't see anything on the screen hardly. And then this other side is a silver color. And again, this will apply the outlets in your wall too. They're usually a light color and a dark color. Now when you're dealing with 120 volt wiring, like I said, you usually have black and white. Black is your hot and white is your neutral. So the darker color is black, and then the lighter color will be the white or the neutral. And then also, this box does come with a little schematic, and that's very nice because not all the unknown Chinesium stuff does. But we can see our ground that's going down to the box. It's going to bond our box to the ground of the panel, and then line is on the left side, so that's hot, and neutral is on the white side. So if we go back here, this is going to be our hot, this is going to be our neutral. But if we look back to what I just told you, this outlet that's hot is our darker color. So that all matches up to color codes and the schematic on the box. So that's always a good thing when everything jives. But once we get us all connected, before I plug my RV in, we're also going to look how to check our work. I always like to check my work on anything electrical before I do anything dumb. Okay, now my outlet box, the outlet pulled out, just hanging by the ground wire, and it's so bright in shadows here. Hopefully you can see this, but this box has 3 holes. Got one at the top, 2 at the bottom, where we're going to mount that. We're going to mount it into this brick wall. So if you're mounting into a brick wall, you want to drill into brick, not drill into mortar. Mortar can get soft. The bricklayer may have left a hollow pocket behind the mortar that's visible, and it might not be solid. So you want to drill into brick. So I'm going to line this thing up just over here to where both the top and the bottom go into or line up with brick. So right there looks good, and my cable is going to go. It's going to reach. I can bolt that to the wall a little bit later, but about here looks perfect. My marker, and sure it looks relatively level. All right, I got 3 holes, or 3 marker. All right, to mount into the brick wall, we need some masonry connections, and this is almost like something you would screw into drywall, but it is made for masonry, so brick and concrete block and that kind of thing. So get yourself some of those, and it takes a 1/4 inch bit to sink those these plastic pieces that the screw is going to go into. So I've got a masonry bit. It's probably the only masonry bit I own in life, but it is different than a wood or a metal bit. So you really need a masonry bit, so get one. They're not that expensive. And don't let anybody tell you got to have a hammer drill. This is just my regular old Ryobi. It'll drill into brick easily enough. So we're going to drill some holes. And then just one other helpful hint. Make yourself a depth gauge. Just put a piece of tape on there about as deep as the screw, so I know I don't need to drill into the brick any further than that. All right, drilling's done. All right, let's knock my plastic into the holes. All right, anchors are in. Let's see if we can put some screws in. All right. All right, it's in there loosely anyway. Now let's hope these others line up. All right, it's on the wall and solid as a rock. All right, now for our wiring hookup. The other end of all this is not connected to anything, so it's just loose wires. You want to do this end first so there's nothing hot that you have to worry about getting shocked or killing yourself. But our outlet's just kind of hanging here from this ground wire, and we want to take the green wire that's coming from our panel, and it goes, I hope we can see, there's a can't see anything there now. There is back here that bonding bus bar, and this green wire from the outlet is connected to one side. We're going to connect our green wire from the panel to the other side, so that screw is loose, so we just need to poke that back in there, get it in there good. Not so good that you got insulation under the screw, but in there, and then we're just going to tighten that one up. All right, so now our box is going to be bonded to the electrical panel once we connect on the electrical end. All right, then earlier, remember I said we're going to use the red for the hot, and earlier we looked at the red is going to be the left side. So we just need to poke this into that spot and tighten up. That's good and tight. Give it a little tug test, and then our black one on the remaining screw. It goes in, and then just tighten up. So really just that simple. A few seconds and we're in, and then just slip this, give everything one more little tug test, and then slip that back in. And then put the cover screw in. All right, that's it. Real time, just that simple. All right, now the panel wiring. This is the fun part I talked about. Real quick before we do that, cover one more thing. This is a main panel. So it is the first panel after the meter. When you have a main panel, you'll know that, whether it's in your garage or maybe it's on the other side of the wall from this meter, not right next to it, but a main panel will always have the neutrals and the grounds bonded. What does that mean? It means they're on the same bus bar. So if we look at this bus bar, we've got black insulated wire back here, we've got a little white insulated wire up here, and then all these bare, whether it's copper or aluminum, those bare wires are ground wires. The insulated wires, the white one and these other black ones back here, are neutral wires, and they are on the same bus bar, as opposed to being all bare on one side, maybe all insulated on the other side. All right, so again, in a main panel, you're going to find them together. In a sub panel, you're going to find them separated. Now, why that is not part of this video, but if you want to know, I can just put a comment in the comments down below. and I can send you a really good link that explains all that, and this is not the video for that, just connecting up an outlet. But the point being, when you're looking at your panel, do it the same way that you see in the panel. If you're not sure whether you've got a main panel or a sub panel, if the neutrals and the grounds are all in one bus bar, you can do it that way. If the neutrals and grounds are on separate bus bars, you have to do them separately. So mine are all together, so I'm going to put my neutral and my ground right there in those two empty slots. So we'll do that, 2 empty screws, I mean. So we'll do that next. Finally, the really fun part is to get in to this screwdriver and get to these bus bars. All right, this hot, you probably can't see from your angle, but there is a tiny bit of these leads exposed over here close to where my screwdriver is going to be, and that's what we don't want to touch, is the hot and the ground at the same time. So I'm going to flip this breaker off so those little bit of exposed leads are not in the danger of touching my screwdriver. And then I'm just going to reach back in here and loosen these screws on this bus bar so that I can get my new wires under there. Alright, so here's my wires. I still got some tape on them when I poked them through earlier, so we're going to take the tape off of the green one and the black one. And then on our little wires, I'm just going to give them a little 90-degree bend so they'll poke into that bus bar a little easier, like this. All right, and then we are going to come around behind and poke this, screws out, and I'm under. All right, that one is in there and it is secure. Kind of just twist it out of the way a little bit. All right, and then our black one, you just need to snake it up under and under also. That one went in much easier, yay. All right, that's torqued down pretty good. Twist that back up out of the way. One more check of tightness. Good. Good. All right, there are our ground and neutral. And then next, this hot lead, we can connect it away from the panel. A little less scary maybe. Loosen up this breaker, loosen up that wire, and then I'm going to shove this red wire into there and tighten that back up again. Alright, now that's in there. That's tight. Alright, and then now the only thing we need to do is put this breaker back onto this bus bar. Well, not the only thing, we got a couple more things to do. But as far as wiring, shove that wire in there, and then the breaker is on the off position right now. When I stick it in here, and then I'm going to stick this back side on over here on the bar, and then rotate it into position. Yeah, we're in now. All right, Our breaker is in, and we should be live and ready to go. All right, now we're going to check our work before we connect our RV up. So much like you ought to do at any campground pedestal, first we're going to, I have let's see here, my Progressive Dynamics surge protector, and it's going to tell us if we're wired correctly. So first check I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in. So I'm going to plug this in. All right, and then if I can get this in the screen, we can see, maybe we can see, we have a green light and a blue light. So green light on, surge protection's on. All right, we like that, but not the main thing we're looking for. Blue light on, red light off, which is the condition that we have correct wiring. So there's first test, first indication that we've done it right, and we didn't get anything crossed up. So green light on, blue light on, red light off, correct wiring. If we see any other color combinations, there's 3 more lines there listed. I won't read them off to you, but if we see that, oh, we got issues, and we need to go fix whatever that issue's telling us, but we're all good to go. All right, hopefully we can see this. It'd be a miracle if so. But on our pedestal, we said this left one was going to be our hot. See if I can get this in there. And this top one is our ground. So red to hot, black to ground, and we've got about 120.6 or 7 volts, 120.5 volts. So that's awesome. 120 volts is perfect power. Don't want it much higher, don't want it much lower. You see on forums all the time about 110 volts. If you ever see 110 volts, run, because that is not good. So we are wired correctly. Next thing we want to do is check from this right lead to ground, and that should be 0, which it is. You want to wiggle them around, because sometimes you don't get good contacts the first time, but we want to see that 0. So even if you have a surge protector that tells you if it's wired correctly, it's also a good idea to check voltage and check to make sure you're pretty close to 120 before you connect to it, because if you've got any kind of line sag and it's already lower than 120, it's going to be very detrimental to your RV. All right, now to button it back up. So here's my panel for my or cover for my main panel, and we put a new breaker into this slot. So we just need to, these things usually come out pretty easy. Yeah. So just be gentle so you don't knock the other one loose. But just wiggle that back and forth, and we've got the space now for our new breaker. All right, and finally just a little bit of tidying up. See our new breaker in. I labeled it so it says RV 30 amp. Somebody else comes along other than me, they know where it goes. And then just attached my this cable run to the wall in a couple spots, so it all looks neat and professional. And so now let's go plug in the RV and check that out. All right, bit of a long video, so I'm going to stop it here. My next video is going to be a prequel and a sequel. So it'll have a prequel to this video of how I decided if this was going to work before I ever started. And then it'll have a sequel to show how it is working in the RV. So like and subscribe. That's going to be a great video coming up to tag on to this one, and lots of other good stuff to come beyond that.